Hi, Dr. Rebec, and to everyone gathered to celebrate Dr. Rebec's incredible career. I wanted to put together a video of comments from students whom Dr. Rebec has mentored in past years. All of us have been impacted tremendously by Dr. Rebec's amazing career, and we'd like to thank him for serving as an incredible mentor, professor, and scientific investigator. Here are the comments from students from past years.
The first time that I walked into Dr. Rebec's office, I was actually pretty nervous. I was an undergrad, and and I walked in there, and I was intimidated to be in the presence of someone who was very accomplished and a great scientist and very well known. But I went in there to ask if I could be a part of his lab, and I was extremely happy when I found out that yes, it was indeed possible. And so I'm really thankful for Dr. Rebec having given me that chance and taken a chance on me because those 4 years in his lab were actually some of the most defining of my time at IU. Um, and perhaps just as influential as that lab time was also the opportunity to be Dr. Rebec's student. Um, Dr. Rebec is actually one of the best instructors that I've ever had, um, and I think that that experience actually influenced me a lot. Um, as I was a teacher for seventh grade students teaching science, and I often would think back to that class and I would think, gosh, how can I bring an element of that engagement and curiosity into my own teaching? Um, because it was really just amazing how you would just have Dr. Rebec, the teacher, and the chalkboard and our notebooks. And I felt like I was watching Discovery Channel. It was, just clinging onto every story and fact and newspaper article and, you know, um, diary entries of well-known psychologists, and having that all be combined in one class to learn about drugs and the nervous system was really fascinating, and something that as a professor perhaps someday that maybe I can hope to emulate that. So um, that class really taught me so much about critical thinking and really just I think will shape the way that I approach my future research in neuroscience as well. Uh, I I just can't even begin to describe what an impact that class has made, and I um, and really what great teaching can do for students. So for that, I am extremely thankful, and for all of Dr. Rebec's support, both with my lab experience and even as I pursue future careers in science. Thank you so much, Dr. Rebec, and congratulations.
Hi, George. I just wanted to thank you for all the things you did for me as an undergrad and getting my research career started. Um, I appreciate it, and you're still a mentor to me today. Thanks.
Hey, Dr. Rebec, this is Connor Norwood. I graduated from your lab in 2011, working with Janelle, or should I say Dr. Dorner, working on phenotyping the 140 CAG knock-in mouse model for my honors thesis. After I graduated, I decided to go on and get my master's in healthcare administration at the IU Richard M. Fairbanks School of Public Health. I even decided to continue on and get my PhD in health policy and management to pursue a career in academia and research, much like yourself. And so, looking back at my time in your lab, I have to say that um, there are a lot of memories, but one that sticks out to me the most is frantically slamming doors and chasing Speedy Gonzalez around the lab with Janelle, trying to capture that mouse, which may be why I decided to pursue a career in research that doesn't require mice. Um, Other than that, I know that I was very lucky to have the opportunity to work with you, and I know all the other students and your colleagues would say the same thing. I want to congratulate you on your very distinguished career in neuroscience and your valuable contributions to Indiana University. I know we all thank you very much. And as I continue to pursue my career in academia and research, it's mentors like you that make a big impact, and I strive to be like. So I will always remember my time there and your leadership and guidance as I continue to pursue my own career. Congratulations and enjoy retirement.
When I first spoke to Dr. Rebec about joining his laboratory my freshman year, I knew virtually nothing about neuroscience or scientific research. But I was immediately enthralled by the idea of learning from this wonderful professor because it was clear that the man sitting across from me was extremely dedicated to his work. Dr. Rebec is similarly devoted to his research, his teaching, his writing, and all things he does, and he makes every effort to be available to his students no matter how busy his schedule. During my few semesters working in lab, Dr. Rebec encouraged me to actively participate in lab meetings and to be a creative scholar instead of just grinding through daily tasks. He forced me to think critically, ask questions, and learn from mistakes, and he challenged me to struggle through and participate in every part of the research process to become a more confident and independent scientist. Though I ultimately decided the laboratory setting wasn't for me, Dr. Rebec has continued to be incredibly responsive to my requests and supportive of my endeavors. Further, I have been able to apply lessons from my experience with Dr. Rebec during my medical education. Through an internship I completed this past summer, with the help of Dr. Rebec's letter of recommendation, of course, I designed and carried out a research project of my own, and I was appointed research director of the student-run clinic my medical school campus is opening this spring. Had I not become well versed in experimental design and execution through working in Dr. Rebec's lab, I would not feel interested or competent in either of these roles. Dr. Rebec, I wish I could be there today to personally thank you for your mentorship and for an experience that taught me more and different lessons than I had imagined. The scientific community and society are very fortunate to have passionate individuals like you in research. Thanks again, and congratulations on a truly amazing career.
On behalf of Tom Gaither, I honestly have to say that I owe a lot of my success in the sciences to Dr. Rebec. He took a chance with me when other PIs were hesitant. I had had no research experience, no classes in neuroscience, and had just emailed him asking him if he would take me on in the lab. He met with me, found out my interests, and took me on board. To this day, I do not believe I would have had such a successful career in science without his leadership and the skills I learned in his lab. I went from 0 experience to 2 published papers. Thanks, Dr. Rebec, for the inspiration and for believing in me. On behalf of Asna Asrar, quote, Dr. Rebec, thank you so much for taking a leap of faith and finding a place in your lab for me my freshman year. Working in your lab has been one of the most fulfilling decisions I made during my undergrad years. I have learned so much and have come to really enjoy and appreciate research. I am fortunate to have been able to work in your lab. And now for some of my own comments. I remember being a freshman at IU, confused about whether I wanted to be a neuroscience major and whether my interest in the brain was warranted. I remember talking to another professor about my interest in the brain and my frustration with looking at neurons on PowerPoint slides all day. I wanted to see a real neuron fire. So I remember being recommended to talk to Dr. Rebec about possible opportunities to work in a laboratory. I remember being rejected not once, not twice, but 3 times before I was accepted to work on a project in Dr. Rebec's lab. I was extremely disheartened with every rejection, but Dr. Rebec finally let me in. I was interested in the disease progression of the brain and also in addiction, and Dr. Rebec's lab seemed to offer both. I was also excited with the opportunity and the idea of doing surgery, but Dr. Rebec's methods went beyond surgery, and I was able to learn so much about conducting scientific research. Not only did my experience in his lab prompt me to continue a scientific investigation, but it also continued my interest in diseases of the brain. I did a project on Huntington's disease and neurodegenerative diseases, as well as neuronal degeneration in Switzerland this summer. I want to continue with neuroscience research throughout my career. Not only does Dr. Rebec serve as an incredible scientific investigator, but he's also been an immense supporter and friend in the process of attending medical school. I appreciate Dr. Rebec's incredible patience with all of the recommendation letters and support and advice that I've needed throughout the years. He's been incredibly patient, and I admire him tremendously for his support. Thank you, Dr. Rebec, for serving as an incredible investigator and mentor, and I can only hope to have a career as great as yours.